Hey geometry students, Mr. Foval here, and today we're going to be looking at lesson 7-8, and this is going to be focused on arcs and sectors. So arcs are essentially the distance or part of the distance of the circumference of a circle. So here I have it in red. Notice underlined arc in red, red arc here. A sector is part of the area of the circle. So here I have a blue part of the circle shaded here. This is known as a sector. One big thing with a sector is it's kind of like a pizza piece, so it has to come from the center. Okay, a few more things that we need is we need the measurement of the arc or the sector. So here in degrees, it's 90 degrees for both. And we also need to know the radius. So here we have 6 inches. So as we're creating arcs and sectors, what we want is we want to make a proportion. Now that sounds like something difficult, but in reality, all it is one fraction that equals another fraction. So we need 4 things. We need the degrees of the arc or sector, whichever we're working with. We need the degrees of a circle, which is always 360, so that makes that easy. We also need the length of the arc or the area of the sector, depending on which we're using. And we need the circumference of the circle or the area of the circle. So we need those 4 things. One of them will be missing, and that's the one that we want to find. Typically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be finding number 3 here, the length of the arc or the area of the sector. So I'm going to do one of each using this circle. So first I'm going to start with an arc. Like I began, a proportion is just a fraction that equals another fraction. So I would start this problem by creating 2 fractions. These fractions are pretty simple. We're going to have degrees on one side and length on the other. So we know the degrees of our circle is 90 degrees, or the degrees of the arc is 90 because the central angle is 90. So we know this is 90 degrees. What we want is this distance if we walked it. So we're going to put a 90 here. We know that the circle is always 360 degrees. I wanted to go with something very simple, so we went with 90 degrees for this situation. Then our goal is to find the length of the arc. I like to call it the arc length, so I like to label it as Al. So we want to find Al here. And we need to know the circumference of the circle. So in this case, the way that we do that is we need to find the diameter times pi. That's the circumference of the circle. So the diameter would have to be 12 because the radius is 6. So we would have arc length over 12 pi, and that has to equal, well, since we know 90 over 360, we might as well reduce that into the decimal of 25 hundredths or 0.25. This will then make our life a little bit easier. So all we have to do is get Al alone. So we're dividing by 12 pi. We want to multiply by 12 pi on both sides. That will create 12 pi times 0.25 equals our arc length. Now, if we want an exact answer, that would give us 3 pi, and we were measuring in inches, is the arc length. If we're okay with rounding it, we can just round that out and give ourselves 9.42 inches is the arc length. Okay, that's how we do arc length. Now let's go to area of a sector. This takes a little bit more work, but the same basic concept. Again, we're starting with 2 fractions. The top of the first fraction is the degrees of the sector. So again, here we have a 90-degree sector. Our degrees of the circle is still 360. The area of the sector we want to find the area of the sector, and we need the area of a circle. So the area of a circle is r squared pi, or you can say it pi r squared. So here we know that the radius is 6, so we're going to switch the 90 over 360. I just make it a decimal to make our life easier. 0.25 equals. We still have the area of the sector divided by, now we know the radius is 6, so we're going 6 squared times pi. Well, 6 squared becomes 36. So we're going to be dividing by 36 pi, and that has to equal 0.25. Well, we're dividing by this 36 pi, so we might as well multiply by it to move it to the other side. This creates 36 pi times 0.25 equals the area of the sector. If we just multiply this out, we come away with 9 pi is the area of the sector. Oh, we should put a measurement on here. 9 pi. This is an area, so it'd be inches squared. Or if we want to round it and get that answer, we type it into our calculator and we would get 28.27 inches squared as the area of the sector. Notice why we use proportions. Both problems become very simple, straightforward methods by using proportions and creating a fraction equaling another fraction. If you have any questions, make sure you rewatch the video, take your notes, and let us know. Thank you.